evening, everybody. So, just to give this some context, really, there's a collaboration ongoing, work within the digital inclusion space in Staffordshire, which is supported by Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce. And originally, there was a single digital forum, and then within the digital forum, we formed 3 separate working groups: a digital skills working group, an artificial intelligence working group, and a digital divide working group. And so this event is being brought to you this evening, the combination of Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire branch of the BCS and the digital divide specialist group of the BCS, and also with some local Staffordshire, Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire businesses and organisations that are really keen to improve digital inclusion locally. So the digital divide working group got started a couple of years ago, and then from that we've then been bringing together where we can all interested parties, and in particular then a fantastic business called TMT First, locally based in Newcastle on the Line, stepped forward and wanted to support this and actually put rather than just words, with proper action. And so together we formed a CIC called Reboot IT for All CIC. And that's like a ITAD Operations, IT Asset Disposition. Okay. And from that, Reboot IT for All, we're also looking to continue to build the relationships between the BCS, between the Chamber of Commerce, and all other entities that are interested regarding digital inclusion locally. And so what we actually have with the Digital Divide Working Group, we have representatives from universities, colleges, and importantly, local government, and also organisations that are working in the digital inclusion space. So that's really important regarding collaboration. And in fact, the strapline for the Digital Divide Working Group is a catalyst for collaboration. That's the whole point, really. And so the concept of Reboot IT for All isn't just about ITAD operations. That's really important. But if you follow this slide through, using the links with the Chamber of Commerce is to get local business donations. So not really getting, let's say, people's unwanted laptops from 15 years ago, something that's fairly recent, that's kind of part of that natural business cycle. Get those donated. Then importantly, try and get volunteers and young learners into this space to support the repurposing, and then give away or supply to, depending on the organisation, at low cost, devices required to support the local third sector, really, VCSE sector. So we've got vast support Staffordshire and other organisations like Wavemaker. And so the hyper-local is really important. That's what's really important. And what we'll hear later from James is all about hyper-local and what that means in reality, where we've got to with that. The other little bit worth noting is at the bottom of that slide is an organisation called EEE4, and they are locally, they do some ITAD work, but also they do recycling, importantly recycling. So the intention is to have a ecosystem, a strengthening ecosystem where local businesses can donate, local organisations can have hyper-local ITAD operations, and we can then, anything that's kind of not worth repurposing can then be locally recycled. Okay. So that's the direction of travel that we're aiming for. Okay, so that's my few slides. So I'm going to hand over to Adam now, and Adam, I think you've got some slides too, which I'll just open. There we go. Oh, last slide. There we go.
Thanks, Charlie. So I met Charlie a few years ago at one of these Chambers events, and between us, we recognised that there was an opportunity to solve a problem that maybe other people in other parts of the country had solved. But what we noticed were people in our area were trying to solve it in a way that didn't seem right. What I mean by that is we could see that there was organisations taking technology that businesses didn't want. They were then maybe refurbishing and repairing that technology, data wiping it, selling that technology, and then taking some of the funds that they'd created and giving those funds back into organisations that might support people in that are stuck in digital poverty or struggling with access to devices. What we thought was, why did it have to be done this way? Why couldn't we just take technology that people didn't want, data wipe them securely to give people and businesses confidence that that device wasn't going to have any of their previous information on there, and then give, like Charlie said, where we see there's a need, that technology to people that needs it. And maybe, as we've thought about over the last year or so, there might be some organisations that might be able to make a contribution to receive those pieces of technology. We've learnt a lot over the last year or so, and some numbers that have stood out for me as we've gone in this journey, and some of these numbers only came to light to me just a few days ago. If we can move to the next slide, Charlie, are the size of the challenge in the area that we're based. So digital poverty, all sorts of poverty, is severe in Stoke-on-Trent, maybe more in Stoke-on-Trent than the rest of Staffordshire. And some of these numbers are mind-blowing, that 35% of Stoke-on-Trent's population live in the lowest 10% of poverty in the UK. 50% of the rest live in the lowest 20%. And if this number is to be believed, and I do need to go and check it, the average reading age for Stoke-on-Trent is 8 years. So what we're seeing, or what I feel we're seeing, is this loop where people are trapped. And the idea is, maybe if we can get the right technology to the right people at the right time, then people can start doing things that they couldn't do today, which is even as simple as accessing schoolwork, applying for jobs, managing the NHS app or other benefits they need to. And that hardware is the first gateway, to an opportunity that thousands of people still don't have. We know this needs more than just hardware, but without hardware, they're going to struggle. If they have knowledge and no hardware, they haven't got an interface. Charlie, if we can move to the next one. So we appear to have a solution to the problem of lack of technology for the people that need it. And that solution involves Stoke-on-Trent's 12,000 businesses, or Staffordshire's 40,000 businesses. And these businesses have devices that are replaced or left idle every year, many of these still in perfectly good working order. Pretty much every business today needs technology. Lots of businesses, maybe not most, but lots, replace their devices every 3 to 5 years as a standard practice. And that will create a continual supply of devices that are perfectly usable for someone living in digital poverty. So this really seems like an opportunity that even if a small percentage of those businesses are prepared to gift their technology, having confidence that we are going to make sure we use industry standard tools, and my organisation has access to police approved and government approved data wiping technology, so we can give people confidence that their devices are data wiped without them having to worry about that. Then we could go a long way towards eliminating digital poverty in Stoke-on-Trent and the wider area. Next slide, please, Charlie. So, as I mentioned before, over the last 12 months or so, we've proved that some solutions work. We've proved that we can securely collect technology from businesses and individuals through a variety of drop-off points and opportunities for people with larger volumes to let us go and collect those devices from them. Again, using audited individuals in tracked vehicles for organisations that are more concerned about the data on those devices. We can data wipe and provide certification to give people full peace of mind. And as James will talk about, we've even found that we can work with local colleges and give students an opportunity to work with us to benefit to their community, benefit their local communities, and also learn new skills themselves. The end result is devices that are safe, reliable, and ready to use that we can then donate. I'm losing my slides there. Can we just click on and that?
No.
Oops. Okay, I'll go back to this one. Okay. So we can work with these trusted organisations to get these devices to the people in most need. I've got it on here. So this is local tech, local skills, local impact. And the only real thing that's limiting the size of the impact now is the size of the supply of this technology. So we've proven we have a need. We have referral pathways. We have skilled volunteers, some of them students, local partnerships, data wiping capabilities, and more recently, expanding distribution networks. We're ready, and we need help and support to get this technology to the people that really need it. Now, I know there's only a few people on the screen now, but if you know people in this area and beyond that do have technology that are prepared to trust an already proven and trusted organisation with it, then we'd like you to help us find this technology to help the people in this area. That might be oversimplified, but I think we've just got to start somewhere, and we've proven that starting somewhere has enabled us to give hundreds of devices already to people that are struggling in this space, supporting people coming out of care, supporting people that want to further their education, and supporting organisations that also recognise and know better than us where the people that need this technology is. So that's it from me, really. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Just we've got some screen issues in the room, that's all. But as both myself and Alba mentioned, so the hyper-local nature of this and the need to not just provide devices, because that's really important, but actually build that kind of thinking and that kind of processing locally, build resilience for that. And so at one of our chamber events, James, who'll introduce himself in a second, said, well, hang on, I think we can help there. And just those conversations with like-minded people means that something hopefully quite magical can start to happen, really. So, James, just pass over to you. I'm just going to sort the room out. So I think I'm all right now. So I can get you back on the screen again.
Just going to share my screen then, and while I wait for you, Charlie. Then,
James, that'd be great. Thanks.
I'll wait for a thumbs up from the room. Hopefully, you can see it.
Yeah, we can see that. That's come through. That's come through. Great. Thank you, James.
Okay, perfect. Well, first and foremost, thank you for obviously inviting me to speak at the BCS conference you're running today, this hybrid meeting you've got. I've got a small slide deck to go through. Obviously, if there's any questions or anything, we can do a Q&A or anything at the end. I might at some point throw over to Adam and Charlie as well, just to lend on their support with some of the stuff that I'm going to present as well. I think it'd be good. I've got a clicker here which isn't working. There we go, it is working. I'll just give you a bit of a background about us as a multi-academy trust. So my role is based within the trust, which is the Potteries Educational Trust. As the name alludes, it is based in Stoke-on-Trent, and we consist of 4 academies. So that's 2 high school, 1 primary, and 1 sixth form college. So from an IT perspective, we're kind of supporting those learners from anywhere from age sort of 3 all the way up to 19 plus, because we do some work with Staffordshire University as well for their foundation degree. over 4,000 learners, 450 colleagues. So we're quite unique in our setting in terms of how the three different educational settings, but we are, although small on paper, we have quite a big footprint in terms of our learner footfall. And it's something that we kind of strive towards in terms of obviously growth elements, working with people like Adam, Charlie, and various others that kind of support our growth in terms of not growth in the carriers, but in terms of partnerships and leveraging the local community in terms of what we can offer back as well as those that can support us. Um, so this picture you can see on here is our sixth form college building. It's the one that's based within the map just there in the middle of the Stoke-on-Trent the map area. The other three actually are based within the Staffordshire Moorlands, which actually sit outside the remit of the Stoke city boundary. But the reason I'm kind of linking back to the college now is obviously for the location wise, it kind of works really well in terms of public transport links and those connectivities to those companies in and around that area, very close to the university. So we link quite closely with them as well. And what is really kind of powerful from our perspective and within the college environment is that one of the key qualifications is the T level provision. So that varies across there from medical, early years, childhood studies, business finance, and the one that I'm going to get to in a moment, that the one that's quite closely aligned to myself is obviously like the digital pathway. So for anyone that doesn't really know anything about T levels, just a quick of it introduction to that is that it's the equivalent of three A levels. So within that, they're building a specialism, they're building up work placement, first-hand experience doing things. We've got people working in some of the NHS settings in and around the city for the medical, amongst other things. We've got digital people in and around some of the big IT firms in the city. And one of the things, obviously sitting on the digital divide working group with Charlie, was hearing the need for this kind of workforce. To put it bluntly, is that we have students that are wanting to learn. We kind of, once I get into the further into the side out, we look at that provision and say, how can we kind of join the dots effectively is where we've got to with this. But obviously working in education and IT for a long time, seeing this digital route and this T-level progressing has actually meant that we're kind of nurturing these young people, these learners, to have experiences and stuff that they probably wouldn't have had many years ago. And I think that's quite key for us here is that we're developing the next generation of IT professionals, and this project in particular is really kind of close to home with that. So just a little bit about me. Sorry for the picture. It looks like a horrible dating profile picture. Um, I'm James Earp. I'm the Trust Director of IT for the Trust, Potteries Educational Trust. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn if you haven't already done so. Feel free to reach out, have any questions offline from this call as well. I'm a little bit of a well-seasoned IT professional, I've wrote down here. I've worked in education for over 15 years. I've worked in the motor industry when I first came out of university, so I've worked across the West Midlands. I've worked internationally as well for that as a contractor as well. I've seen uh, private education settings, mats, colleges, bit of one of those. Unfortunately, you've been there, you've got the T-shirt for many things. So I'm not actually from Stoke myself. So obviously, as I'm talking, you might realise I've not got a Stoke accent. But I'm actually from Derby. That's also where I went to university. So IT is pretty much thoroughbred through me in terms of how many years I've done it and how well embedded it is. And it's great to speak to like-minded people. Obviously in the call, if we have any Q&As later on. So the next slide I've got for you today is one of the ones that a colleague has shared with me, probably two, maybe 3 years ago, and it kind of resonated quite a lot for us, especially in terms of when we look at digital poverty, digital inclusivity. What do we want to achieve basically? Obviously, working in IT across the 4 sites, we have varying levels of digital skills, digital literacy, the experience the learners may have. But one thing that we're trying to achieve within our trust, which eventually will lead into the wider community as well, is that equity is where we want to be at this stage, with a view that justice for every learner has that element, that there's no barriers to them. And this is the same for the digital piece as well. So obviously there's things that come into play, the challenges, the financial aspects and stuff like that. But when we look at what we've achieved already, this has cut half of the title off there. That does say digital projects within the trust. So from the primary school age, we've got students using Chromebooks, laptops, building those digital skills. We've got things like a one-to-one scheme that we're bringing the high schools, that we can try and develop that, taking that technology home. For some families, that may be the only laptop they've got in that family setting. But what we're doing as a trust, in particular that academy, is making that technology affordable. We've got digital classrooms with the screens, as you can see there, the laptop locker, the vending machine type thing at the top there. We do a BYOD where you bring your own, borrow your own. We also offer extended longer term loan laptop schemes as well to those students in the college setting to support those, again, without the technology at home. I think on a percentage ratio for our trust, we're anywhere between 18 and 20% of students that are kind of classified as a pupil premium or a bursary student, again, depending on their circumstances at home. So there is that need for us to do more. And again, looking at that equity piece, this is where this project really aligns to what we want to do really for not only our learners, but obviously the wider community as well. This was the slide deck that I put forward for the Chamber of Commerce, which I don't think I've spelled right there, and the Digital Divide Working Group. And then from there, as Charlie and Adam said, we had those conversations. We want to do this. How do we do this? We've got a workforce. How do we get that to align with the needs and wants of the curriculum? How can we get management involved? And from there, to coin a phrase from Charlie, the Reboot IT rally point that we've now been able to establish was formed in what was a dedicated IT lab at the college. Well, I've just realised that picture's got rubbish on the floor as well, so they didn't do a very good job cleaning that. But we took first delivery in our T lab, as it was previously called, or it will be now the rally point room. So this allowed us to bring those people that we needed to bring into the room together, talk through some of those process elements, and I feel like at this point it might be good to bring Adam and Charlie in, just to say where their experiences have come from up to this point now, because I feel like although we were joining the dots, it was more about us enabling, from my perspective, those students to get the experience in this and allowing them to grow with this, which again I'll show you later. But Adam and Charlie, at this point, do you want to add anything in?
So for me, then the opportunity is massive. Like, we know that in our facility we have the capability of processing these devices, but it's quite time consuming and we have a business to run. The offer you made of allowing us to bring that technology to you, for me, has two really good benefits. One, it brings them to where the students are, so it makes it easy. The students don't have to come to us. But also, you've given them the time to be able to make this part of their T-level studies. And I suppose, as I mentioned before, the third outcome is together we're doing good for our community. We're taking this technology that eventually we and other members of the team that are volunteering to process them might have got around to, But actually, by doing it this way, we have I think you and Charlie have said it, a workforce that can process these devices in bulk and actually can figure out ways using a team that already exists in your organization to improve the efficiency of rebuilding these devices. They've all come to you data safe, so they won't have any hard drives in there. And if there are hard drives in there, they would have been wiped by us. So we know that it's also a safe environment. That's my thoughts on it. It's just like a win-win-win.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be repeating a lot of what's been said, but I think the whole point about hyper-local, the issue with volunteering, and we've reached out to, on my slide, there was VAST, which is the voluntary organisation for Stoke-on-Trent, and it supports third sector VCSE organisations and supports Staffordshire, does it outside of Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. Similar kind of thing, really. And the big issue with volunteering is getting people, not to volunteer, but getting them to where you need them. That's a real, just logistics. It's just a real problem. And people, of course, they're volunteering, so they're going to want to need to get maybe some recompense for their travel if they're going to travel. And so it becomes really difficult. And so by bringing the processing hyper-local, having this fantastic facility where it can happen, the intention being is the systems that we actually use, which will be web-based, which are web-based, as we're developing, will then mean that these systems can drop in anywhere where there's an internet connection. And so the equipment can go physically to the volunteer, but the data and the tracking and so on of all of that stays central within the Reboot IT systems. So it's just, I'm so excited about the potential for this. And the other thing, of course, is the Potteries Educational Trust and the Sixth Form College are the pioneers on this. So this is really good for them. But guess what? It's not just the Sixth Form College that's doing T-levels. There are 6 other significant colleges within Staffordshire. There are universities, there are other organisations, and so we can get up ahead of steam here and have a repeatable process where this can happen in lots and lots of places. Yeah. So I'm just so excited. I think it's fantastic. So thank you, James.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that T-level, getting that first-hand experience is key for these young people. And just to kind of allude to where we're at now, because obviously we're into that first phase now of this process. I thought it'd be really good to share kind of where we're up to, and then going from there, we can obviously talk about the growth element to this as well, and how it could very much snowball into something fantastic and magnificent for the local community and wider. Just for those in the room who are not aware of what we are doing as the college and the T-level provision and the trust, is that where I think Charlie's mentioned it offline, is that we are almost like a subcontracted out process to this workforce. So a Reboot IT delivery comes to the college. The T-level students will begin doing things like auditing, configuring, building, imaging, quality assuring the device, make sure it's fit for purpose. The picture here kind of alludes to some of the asset tags we've developed in-house. So that's all gone through some of the kind of asset management elements that we've done previously in-house as well. So then once that's all been provisioned, Reboot IT will then collect the kit, and then they'll then provide it to the end users, those worthy causes, those charities, those associations that are going to be the beneficiaries of these equipment. And one of the key things that to get this over the line and us being an enabler for this was to put this in, which meant that there is no ongoing support contract from the college. Their process and I hate the word liability, but their kind of purpose is from A to B, and that it doesn't deviate. So we get the kit, we build the kit, it's packaged, it's done, it goes back, and then it goes to the end user. And I think that's really key as well. And again, making sure that that single point of contact between Reboot and the end user means that we, from a college and educational perspective, we've safeguarded our users. We're making sure that we're keeping things compliant, alongside all the things that Adam said previously about making sure that the companies who donate their assets, that they're aware that they're compliant from the GDPR, the wiping, everything like that. We're still doing that to ensure that our students on our side have got the same rules, regulations in place as if it would have been at a Reboot building, and that Adam mentioned as well. So that's kind of the process and procedures that we've done as well. So although we've got them wrote down here, they're not completely finalized. There's still that agile ability to adjust things. We can look at quantities, we can look at the needs, the wants, whether it's tablets, whether it's PCs. It's scalable. So at the minute, we've brought on board 2 placement students that could easily scale up to 10, if not more. And I think looking at Adam in the room there, the likelihood is that more equipment will arrive. That will then grow. So obviously, it's very much scalable on our side. But as Charlie's slide said, the constant is there is still a need for equipment for those in the local community. So that's the constant. Everything else is adjustable and scalable and manageable to grow in that direction, really. So some of the things that we put forward to management, because obviously with everything we have to make sure we're following the rules and regs for senior leadership approval. So we looked at things like schedules, workloads, expectations. Obviously, these students, 16 to 18 in the T-level provision, will also have things like exam periods, dedicated lessons. So we've really gone to town by making sure that we are not hindering anyone's opportunity to learn as well. So they are growing with this professional development, but at the same time that they're still getting their in-classroom learning. So that's all been scheduled and put into a plan, as you can see on screen here. We agreed phases, so we're looking at a 4-phase Reboot IT rally point provision for this academic year, and then obviously we reviewed for the following, in terms of what we want to achieve and how many we can fit in. Then the next thing is we want to know that there's an intended impact. Are the students gaining from this? And from the next slide that I'll show you, I think instantly you can see from today, the students have been gripped, I think is probably the right word. They've been fascinated by it from the feedback I've been given from my team. We looked at things like associated costs. So from our perspective, cost neutral. It's minimal to us. So things like the hours for the students, they're in the building anyway, they're learning, they're getting project hours in. We're not putting anything that's on a license on ours on the devices at the moment. So we're looking at things like Chrome Flex, that's free, Linux, various flavors of Linux, they're all free. So yeah, from a cost perspective, cost neutral. Minimum expected experience for the T-level students. What are they walking into when they walk into that room? And what they've been told and advised is that you're not in college when you walk into this lab. You are in a working environment. You're setting the standard, and everyone has to follow suit. And again, just talking and speaking to people today, it's been phenomenal from what we've been told. And then from the element of the staffing elements, we within the trust adopt a grow your own strategy. So we build up specialisms within all of our apprentices, and our level 4 apprentice in the college has to have, like all apprentices, like their off the job hours. Like it's like 20% of their working week. So what that is allowing us to do is named Alfie. It was on the previous picture. It allows Alfie to have that 1 day a week based in the lab while the students are working, for him to do his apprenticeship work and also give him that mentoring. so that he's actually growing professionally as well by managing a team, whilst also being able to kind of grow himself as well from that perspective. And he'll be leading on communications with the Reboot IT team for collections, deliveries. He will be my port of call for then saying, let's have a look at this. Is this correct? He's got delivery notes, collection notes. That's all empowering him and enriching him to become a better version of himself in terms of his professional development as well, which is great from our perspective. So these are the pictures that we've had taken today. So our two college students. Any eagle-eyed people will probably see there is no anti-static bands on their wrists. We are on an anti-static floor, so as long as they're not doing any kind of moonwalking while they're sat down, they should be absolutely fine on that perspective. But yeah, they're going in there. They're making everything standardized, making sure all the memory is correct. They've done auditing, as you can tell in the picture on the top right hand image. And then what that will then do is we'll be able to provide the information back to Reboot IT through various reports that say this asset tag with this serial number has this operating system with this much memory. It was configured on this day and it was quality checked on this day as well. And then that way we're auditable again back to Adam and Charlie and the team to say, right, phase one, we've found this many devices have been configured correctly to this point. They're all boxed, they're ready to go. So then from their perspective, it's literally then over to an end user. And then it allows them to kind of, as you say, be able to do things like apply for jobs, write up CVs, give them the opportunity with the technology that they hadn't previously, that they do not previously, or do not have at the moment. So what I thought I'd do is also ask the principal of the college to give a quote. Again, I won't read this out. I'll just keep it on screen for those to read it. But having that senior management buy-in is absolutely key for this. So building up the partnerships, the local community, the impact, and again having that digital poverty and inclusivity element in there is what it is. We need to support the local community, the families, everyone that doesn't have that opportunity with technology that we potentially have in this call here is scary, to be honest, in terms of how they're going to go and apply for that next job or how they're going to do this and how they're going to do that. And it's a scary world because everything's changing now. Things like AI is taking over in terms of what the developments are going to look like without the basic of technology now. It's only going to kind of make that gap wider. I've got one final slide, which is just going to bring back this graphic, which is, again, I've reworded the top because I want the digital inclusivity element for the local community, not just for us as a trust and our learners and their families. It's much bigger than that for us now, because it might be that our students, if our T-level provision can refit hundreds of devices that go to the families, that then allow that community to get the opportunity to go for more jobs, more interviews, more opportunities to succeed. The students that leave our college will know they've made a measurable impact for us. And again, we're working towards equity, but justice is where we really want to be at from our perspective. That would be our goal from ours. But again, it all comes down to the wider community of donations and provision and others adopting the same or similar, they might do it better, process to what we've brought forward. So yeah, on that note, Charlie, I think I'll hand back unless there's any questions in the room.
Yeah, thanks very much, James. And I think you mentioned that point about just at the end about other people doing it and better. I think really important to understand that I don't think there's anybody else doing this in the country that I'm aware of, where they're taking locally donated equipment, and college learners are supporting the process for ITAD. I'm not aware. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm not aware. Okay. So this really is at the bleeding edge of some of this stuff, really. And we're not saying we've got it right, but what we are saying is we're going to learn and iterate quickly. And with the support of guys like James and the Potteries Educational Trust Sixth Form College, then we'll build better, constantly keep building better. So part of this event is to launch what we're doing and then seek support, guidance from the community to say, well, if you want to come along and make it better, please come along and make it better. Yeah. Any ideas, any thoughts, be it locally or nationally, we welcome that support. That's what it's about. It's about collaboration, because together, by collaboration, we'll be stronger. Yeah.
Can I answer Sharon's question, I suppose?
Yeah.
As Reboot IT for All is a CIC and is relatively new and relatively small, to be able to go and get some of the standards that you mentioned, and I'll talk about some of the ones that we have within our main organisation, would have been quite an expense. So things like 9001, 14001, 27001, 45001, DISA certification, Cyber Essentials Plus, even PASF, which is Police Assured Secure Facility, all exist within TMT First, and these devices start there first. So they do follow that process, and we are learning as we go what we can take from our understanding of those standards and apply them the best we can to the Reboot IT processes. And even today, as we're sat here, James was talking about ESD safety. That's an oversight on my behalf. You've thought about it, but I can make sure the ESD kit and the ESD bands are given to the college along with the next batch or even before the next batch. So your next pictures are going to have the students with the straps on being fully earthed to, again, improve and protect the process. And Charlie mentioned it earlier. We are continually evolving. But what we're not doing is going, let's just stop until we've got everything figured out. And then when we've done that, we'll go and help some people. What we've said is, let's do the best we possibly can and learn as we go, and fail fast and learn fast and fail fast and learn fast. And what we've achieved already in a year is amazing. And to have James and the team on board, being able to show those pictures today, kind of fills my heart with joy that it's all kind of joining up and working. And the next stage soon will be, here you go, people coming out of care in Stoke-on-Trent, which is the first batch of these computers, that's where they're going. Here you go, here's something that's going to change your lives. That'll be even more powerful. So I do get where you're coming from, Sharon. And if you've got any advice at all you can give us to help us on that journey, then we certainly are all ears.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Karen. Yeah.
Hi. I came to the last talk on this and was very impressed and did offer my services, and I will continue to offer my services. So I am expert in all those standards and also asset management. And I think I did say that I'd offer help. I'm also, James, I've been a trustee of 3 multi-academy trusts for the last 8 years. I'm now a member of the Learning Partnership, so you know I'm kind of senior in governance in that, and I am organising a talk with some of the head teachers in the trust on the benefits that the British Computer Society in general can bring, you know, and I think I didn't really touch on this area as much as I could have done. So I'm just wondering if I can link in with you, James, and share some of these slides, or perhaps connect you up with the Learning Partnership to see if we can form that chain that Charlie was talking about, you know, of cascading this through into other areas. Would that be possible?
Yeah, sounds great from our perspective.
Excellent. Okay, because I think there's some of the ideas that I've got. You know, it's not just about the pupils, and I'm kind of deviating a little bit here, but it's about the technicians as well, and you know their professional qualifications that the BCS can support, and lots of other things. So I've sent you a LinkedIn connect request. So if we can connect, then that would be great. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sharon. And now that we've actually got a facility that a Reboot rally point, in the sixth form college, then give the guys a few weeks to get themselves settled and sorted, and knock off the edges and so on, and then with agreement with James and his colleagues, then there's no reason why we can't have an on-site meeting and look at some of this and understand it in more detail and go through some of the detail of that, really. And any support that we can get, fantastic.
Yeah, really appreciate that, Sharon. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Has anybody else got any questions? We're a small group, so just put your hand up and come off.
Charlie, can I just ask that?
Yes, Steve, go ahead.
I mean, as I was listening, I was trying to understand the demand for these laptops locally.
Yes.
How do we quantify the people coming out to say, look, I need a laptop and so on, and to support them in their growth, whatever they need to do with the laptop? I mean, I'm actually thinking that should we be actually moving away from just thinking laptops will do the trick for the people, because I don't think laptop is probably the problem now. It's more like desperation of the locals to think that what else could they do if they have the laptops. Because the figure you put up about the poverty is quite staggering. Mm-hmm. Because I have to ask myself, how did it get to that stage, whether they have laptop or not? Because there has to be something that's buckled the system for them not to be denied.
Yeah, I think. I mean, of course, depending on where you sit in society and what view you've got and your own experiences, there'll be all sorts of problems that you will see, and depending on the individual circumstances, all sorts of terrible stories, really. But I think you can only do what you can do, really. And so what we've got here isn't the answer, but it is part of the answer. And one of the things that's really important, well, you and I know, but I'll mention to everybody in the room, we really acknowledge as part of the Digital Divide Working Group that simply just providing kit on its own is not enough. It's not. It isn't enough. So it's providing the kit. It's providing some connection to the internet. It's then providing it in a safe environment. It's then providing skills potentially for that. Okay. And so that's why the Digital Divide Working Group, through the Chamber of Commerce, is collaborating with all of these organizations to kind of make it a consistent digital inclusion ecosystem. Okay, so one organization cannot provide it all. But if you look at government funding, for instance, historically the government funding recently, since Brexit, has come through the local funding directly through individual councils, and they've been awarding the money to projects that they've felt to be appropriate. And so you get funding for specific point solution projects, and they're only running for as long as the funding's available. Yeah. And so through some of the work that we've done with the Digital Divide Specialist Group, the BCS, and some of Freddie's colleagues and so on, then we've looked to Leeds City Council, we've looked further down to Essex as well to look at what they're doing and spread that knowledge and understanding and good practice, see what others are doing. And one council looks at another council to see what they're doing. And so we're bringing that national and international perspective as well. So I really do think we're going to change the game here. It is a long, hard, uphill battle. But if people have got equipment, then that's solving one part of the problem. I sat on a number of committees for the city of Stoke-on-Trent, it was called Silicon Stoke. And one of the things there is there's a digital, there's a fibre optic ring around the city. And so inside all buildings now, there is Wi-Fi, fibre optic connected, backbone Wi-Fi, right? And they're doing a trial now of public Wi-Fi in certain areas. Okay? So it's starting to happen. So if you give somebody some kit and they are able to go to a library or they're able to then go to a public Wi-Fi enabled area, they've got two things, right? Then the next thing is once they've got those two things, then maybe in those public areas, we can form a bit of a support group that meets once month or once a week or whatever it may be, right? And perhaps we can get IT professionals in the sector to lend their support, you know, on an occasional basis to do that. So we can start to enable removing the impediments, as it were, in any agile process. Remove the impediments that you can remove. Yeah, we're not going to fix the whole world of poverty, but we can certainly give people a leg up to understand what they can do. The other key thing that's really important here is that Reboot IT for All does not give equipment directly to individuals. Okay, so the model we've got is we donate or provide the equipment to appropriate organisations who then provide it to individuals. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that, yeah, there may be some individuals that have to take the equipment and try and sell it or pawn it. Okay, well, that's up to the organisation. That's up to us. Okay, the organisation. Now, it's an important point because obviously we're not then. Reboot isn't saying, "Oh, we're going to find out what everybody's doing with it." No, we give it to the organisation. It's passed to the organisation. Okay, so Adam mentioned Stoke-on-Trent City Council has got some care leavers that we know are in the pipeline. So that equipment will be passed on to the council to then do with what they want, right? Okay. And those demarcations are really important. James mentioned earlier that it was a really important point for the Reboot Rally Point to form at the Sixth Form College is that there was a clear endpoint of responsibility and liability. Otherwise, people get really scared. Okay? And so making sure it's really clear where those endpoints are really helps. Now, look, we know the chances are that, you know, we're not 100% of the equipment isn't going to end up being used. Some of it's going to get sold or broken up parts or whatever. Well, that's the way life is. Right? The point is, if you put enough in the top, right, then some loss in the process is expected and kind of accepted. So that's a long answer to not answer your question. In the sense of that, I sense your frustration, and I completely agree that there are bigger problems that need to be fixed. But if we can provide what we can do in the IT sector as IT professionals, then we can sleep at night. Because we can say we're doing all we can in our sector, that we can actually touch and move the dial here with assurance, with aplomb, and with a real confidence. I think, you know, I mean, even just Sharon saying, "Well, look, I can help. I can join those dots." Okay, there you go. There's another connection, mate.
Actually, as much now they've thought about having somewhat like a social consequence, social factor. I was when I was in New York with my relatives. I went to a library and I saw mothers and children, the library using laptops. I'm thinking, there's a program here that because somebody has to obviously look after their kids. Yep. So why don't invite the mothers with their children, provide them with laptop, you can train them there and then. So they've embedded in getting used to using laptops or machines, and then the kids will grow up with this idea that they need to get attached to this machine. So it's to do from the ground to thinking, what are these people? How can we accommodate the people that we don't generally engage with? Yes. It's to have a space, because the library thought to themselves, well, you know what? For 2 hours per week, you come here. We give you tea, coffee, and so on. Bring your children.
Yeah, but that's kind of happening now. I mean, I think one of the things that really surprised me is when I started out on this bit of a journey a few years ago. You think nobody's doing anything, and that's not true. Yeah, there's a lot happening. Yeah. The issue is that it doesn't last. Yeah. So there's a bit of money. Bit of government funding, bit of local government funding for a program or a project. That money stops. You know, it's a financial year. It stops, and the project fizzles out. Okay. So there's been some fantastic work done locally with some funding, and what happens is people don't then join that to the next project. Okay, and that's what we've been really trying to do here. Is not just make it so that it's reliant on, I don't know, 10, 15. £100,000 from a government project that run for 3 years. We're trying to make this as sustainable as possible, keep the cost as low as possible, but make sure that local is local. Yes. Because people want to support local, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay? And so local business, local IT firms, why can't they support? They will. Why wouldn't they? Okay, we just need to make it easy.
Yes.
Easier, really. That's kind of it. So yeah. So I'm taking up a lot of time there talking about. I'm quite passionate about it. But is anybody any other questions for James or anybody else really?
Can we see the chat?
Yeah, sorry, of course. Yeah, I'll pull the chat off you.
Just to follow on from what you said, it's not always laptops that people want. So we do have tablets that we give to people. And I was with someone just a few days ago who, like us, believed it was no good giving people tablets if you didn't give them a SIM card so they got access to data. So they worked hard to find someone who could supply the tablets. They found 20 young people who were really struggling in life, but were hard workers, young children, and gave them tablets with SIM cards, thinking that they needed that SIM card to be able to access the internet. What they found was only 3 out of the 20 SIM cards were used. People did have access to Wi-Fi. Yeah. It was the hardware they didn't have. Yeah. They did have some technology at home, but there might have been multiple children, and there was children staying up late at night to use the laptop or the tablet when they could. So we can put lower cost laptops in there, and with the technology that laptops or tablets, with the technology that the schools provide through Google Classrooms, et cetera, then that's enough for people to be able to do their homework or continue to learn, or maybe even to start a process of learning how to read if they're struggling to do that. Yeah. So we're learning all the time, and some of the information we're receiving we didn't expect to be.
BBC had the program, BBC Radio 4, they went to Bradford, and they just they went to different communities whereby the children have to share the mother's mobile phones to do the assignment and so on. Yeah. I'm thinking, well, if the radio in Stoke-on-Trent, who do they interview? Do they go to perhaps who can tap into some of that? So thinking, well, which communities have you been to interview for situational research that we can perhaps piggyback on that and see how you can then support?
We're also very fortunate in this area that there's some individuals who know where the help needs to go. So I was with a gentleman called Adam Yates from the Hub Foundation. Some people might have heard of the Hub Foundation, but when it was COVID and children couldn't go to school, there was children that weren't eating. So they managed to figure out with JCB, with Port Vale, with loads of other supporters, how to get thousands and thousands of meals out to people. And doing that helped them identify the families in need. Those families are still the families in need. And through the school connections, the Hub Foundation knows who to speak to get technology to people that need it. So we can use those links as well. And we're not randomly throwing technology out there. We're working with the people that know who needs the most help.
And then that's why it's important that what we're not trying to be is like a shop window for anybody that needs to eat some kit. The whole point is that we trust the organisation, and the organisation can decide who gets it, right? So what you're doing there is you're strengthening the organisational ties as well. You're not bypassing that. You're actually helping them remove impediments potentially, but you're also understanding those routes, as Alan's mentioned. Okay, those routes in, and you're not stepping on toes either, because here's the key thing. There was some great work done locally, and it was called Discover Digital, and it was money funded by Stoke-on-Trent City Council out of I think the Enhanced Cities Fund, I think. It was led by University of Staffordshire, building we're in their building today, but a lot of partners. Okay, and the research was really well done. Nothing staggering. You've got to go local. You've got to take it to the individuals and get out there. Okay, so community hubs. Okay, so expecting people to just turn up because they need IT support. They're too busy. They've got enough things going on. They can't pay their bills. They've got a legal dispute. They've got benefit problems, whatever it might be. But if you're there next to the food bank, you're there in the community hubs, and you're there saying, well, here's some kit. Here's somebody sitting to help you, and we've got internet connection. You're starting to be able to add all those things together, really. And that's where we're heading, hopefully. Okay, and through initiatives that James has been so fantastic to support, means not only does it spread the word here, but there'll be young learners in James's college that need kit, right? Okay, and so they can then say, well, I can have kit from the Reboot rally point that's just in that thing, right? And then they can go and possibly peer through the window or maybe have a look inside and say, blooming heck, that's really good. Maybe I can come and help, yeah? Because they've been a beneficiary of it, you know what I mean? So it starts to have that kind of knock-on snowball type effect, really. And that's because it's harder work because you've got to make those connections and keep those connections running, right? So it's harder work in some ways, but it's much more sustainable when it works, when it gets together, really. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments?
Have we missed anything in the chat that we should have picked up on?
Has anybody who's put something in the chat wanted an answer?
Mira, did you have anything to say?
By all means, come off mute if you wish to. Just having a look.
Can I just ask a question? So really, really fantastic stuff going on. Has there ever been any discussion about the sort of environmental benefits as well? Because obviously bringing kit together locally, making use of it, that sort of thing, has got some environmental sort of angle to it as well. Has that ever been sort of touched upon? Or
yeah, so in my head, there is a briefing paper for students out of the Sustainability Centre at Keele University to do some kind of research paper of the digital ecosystem locally, but it's currently in there.
Right.
So yes, very much so. Is what we're looking to try and do is take this as far as it can go with proper bona fide academic rigor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So but we've got to build something that works as well. So we haven't been really quite ready because all the connections that we've been talking about making, they're not probably strong and secure enough to let somebody else follow the thread, because it's like, oh, that doesn't quite work yet. And so any proper research will be, well, I spoke to them, he wasn't available, and that doesn't work, and so on. So we're probably not quite mature enough for that, but very much so. And if you have any thoughts or comments or support, very much open to that. Because here's the thing, right? As Freddie will know, if you take this up to national government level, and the Digital Inclusion Innovation Fund, which was launched at the last financial year, right? Now, this is being recorded, so I'll be careful what I say, but it certainly was very difficult for a local organisation to take part in that fund submission. It had to be done through larger charities or local government, right? Now, the timescale was so tight, so it was very difficult to actually get funds, okay? And Freddie and I will both be at the APPG meeting next month in Parliament, and I'll be asking some questions about that. But here's the thing. If we are ready locally for the next round of funding, and we can prove and demonstrate that we've really got credibility and skin in the game, and we're doing something that's completely innovative, well, then hopefully some money will come our way to be able to further support what we're doing. Yeah, and therefore that then means we can be seen as a good example, maybe not the best yet, but certainly one of the leading examples of how to make this work, rather than just simply going out and buying brand new laptops and giving to people, right? Which is kind of what happens now. Most funding for digital inclusion, buy a few laptops, run a few courses, then it all finishes and nobody's around to help in a year's time, which is kind of what happens. Yeah.
So on that point, two things to consider as well. Yes, it's important we talk about sustainability. The motto of TMT first is to keep technology alive for longer. What we're recognizing through our ITAD departments is there are large organizations that are so worried about what might happen to their data. They'd rather their technology be destroyed than data wiped. So we're working with Keele University. We're trying to put something together like a white paper that says, if a device goes into a shredder, how do you know it's gone into the shredder? If a device is forensically data wiped with a certification to say that device has been wiped to military standards, you know that your data has been disappeared, rather than it might have gone into a shredder, but what if it didn't go into a shredder? So we're trying to come up with that argument. And there's probably other arguments we can use there as well. I had 2 points, and I can't remember what the second point was. So I won't even try to think about it. When it comes to me, I'll let you know. But we are thinking about sustainability, and we know that if we can keep technology alive for longer, it benefits the planet as well as the people we're trying to support too.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier that there's already an organisation locally that does the taking apart recycling bit. It's invented. for goodness sake. It's been running for years, right? Okay. EEE4. Now, EEE4 have been running for years, but they've been kind of an island. And whenever they've knocked on doors, they've been given a bit of a difficult time, really. So they're all a bit, well, we're doing all right, thanks. So you've got to break down these barriers and say, well, actually, no, this is we're trying to do something a bit different. Okay? And if we can show, well, actually, somebody in Newcastle on the line donates their equipment, right? Okay? It gets data wiped in Newcastle. It then comes down the road to Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire College to be reprocessed. Anything that's there can be then taken down to Fenton to be recycled, and the other stuff goes back via Stoke College to. I mean, come on, it's only travelled a few miles, right? And so that's the objective, really. And of course, hyper local means not necessarily just Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire College, but it also might mean Newcastle College. It might mean, for instance, at the Digital Divide Working Group. We've got representatives from all the local borough councils. I know there's local government reorganisation going on, but down in Cannock, they've got some space, and they've talked about possibly doing a Reboot Rally Point down there, right? Okay, so this can go anywhere, really, where the equipment comes local, and you could have somebody in Cannock donating to someone in Cannock, be reprocessed in Cannock through colleges in Cannock, and then goes out to people in Cannock. Well, what? I mean, this is fantastic, right? Enabling it. Okay, so. If we can get this right, and I think, as Sharon mentions there in the chat, about data destruction notes and so on, we do, we want this kind of process, consistent process that we can demonstrate that. Look, whenever you get something from Reboot, you can be assured data wiping destruction, okay, all that's covered, and that comes. That's it. It's not negotiable. You're getting that the certificate if you want it. We're doing it anyway. Have a certificate if you want. And of course, what we then want to do is automate that process so that we can say, there you go, we've got that in, checked in, and somebody gets an email with the certificate attached. We're not there yet, but that's the idea. Power automate, all that technology is available. Just bang, out it goes. Everybody's got it straight back. So all it does is drops it off. Once it gets an asset tag, that asset tag will stay with it throughout the whole its life in Reboot. Okay? And that's it, so people know what's happening to it.
I remember what the other thought was. They'll still have an end of life. So what we don't want is these devices just to be destroyed. We want the partners that we're working with to let the people that are having this technology know that when they no longer need it or it doesn't work anymore, it needs to come back this way, and it doesn't end up as a waste stream that's not disposed of properly. So we can take the precious metals, we can take the value out of that device. And make sure it's recycled. So we've still got to figure that out as well, and we perhaps need to work a little bit harder on making sure that people know what to do with that device when it doesn't work.
Yeah. So I mean, that's it. This is what we've got to. I think, but the power of collaboration is the message. The win. Yeah. The fact that James was able to say, well, actually, I think we can do something there. And of course, they've got a need that they're also being able to help, because they have got young learners that need some real world type experience and so on. So, it's kind of, you can say that works. That is symbiotic. Yeah. And nobody has said it has to be equal, but it's the point is that there's a two-way transaction there between the young person who's learning at T-level and doing the work that they're doing, and they're doing good, right? It's fantastic, right? It's absolutely amazing what's possible, I think, So onwards and onwards, really, is the point, hopefully. And I think we've already got other colleges that are thinking, well, actually, I want some of this. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, it's kudos, right? If nothing else, because, well, why haven't you? You can imagine, can't you? That quote from your fantastic principal, James, right? Well, the next college meeting they're at, well, guess what we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. That's what drives a lot of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. I encourage it because it's such a fantastic opportunity, really. Mira's got a question. Windows 10? Yeah.
James has answered that, I think. James, do you want to reiterate what we said?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got on one of the slides, if I go a little bit further back, is that we're looking at things like Chrome Flex, Linux operating distribution systems. We're making sure that there's a supported operating system within those assets. Obviously making sure it's all cyber compliant, basically, from that perspective.
Yeah. So if it's an Intel 8th gen or higher, we can put Windows 11 on and it's safe. Less than that, we're thinking about what other operating systems we should use. And we need to get some of those operating systems in front of people. But as has been mentioned, there's children using Google Chrome on a laptop at school anyway. So if they've got that same operating system on a system at home, it's going to be more intuitive for them. But you're limited on what you can do with the device. You're not making the most use of some of the higher power equipment we get. So maybe children, younger people who want to do some programming might prefer a Linux-based operating system to help them make the most of the technology that we're giving them.
Yeah, some of the flavors on Linux now, like Mint and stuff like that, have got a really nice GUI. So it's all native, isn't it? It's all menu-based stuff. And once they've seen it on one thing, they'll see it on another thing, and it'll be pretty much transitional on that perspective.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about is, just in terms of internal stock control, the sort of grouping together the kind of device, what's it going to be used for, rather than what its spec is, particularly because the spec's kind of not that relevant if it's a refurbished device. It's relevant to Reboot that we don't overspec something, but it's not necessarily relevant if the device is being either given or low-costed provided, because you're saying, I want a device to do a task. So we can say this device is for web browsing. This device is for programming. This device is for photo editing. This device is for CAD, right? Because we've been donated some really cracking kit, right? Mm-hmm. Really good stuff that you wouldn't want to just use for web browsing, because why would you? And that's part of that understanding to say we can give the right level of equipment on almost as a user type basis is the thinking. We're not there yet, but that's the thinking. So we say that's okay. So all of the low, Mira's point about the older kit that would running Windows 10, if it's really good kit and it's the right gen processor, we can maybe take it that next step to its, to maximize its specification. But the low stuff that can all be for web browsing on Chrome Flex. Brilliant. And my parents-in-law in their late 80s, they just had Chrome Flex. Just had it on two. They were new, of course, but they just had two. Only took them a couple of days and they're up and running. A few different things from Windows, and I thought to myself, this is just a game changer. It's just for web browsing, doing a little bit of banking or a little bit whatever it might be. It's just a game changer. It's just easy, really. So, and the vast majority of younger people, especially early learners, they're not going to be doing. And even if you get onto, we're doing some work with Raspberry Pi code clubs, and Scratch and that kind of thing, programming. All that's online, right? So all that's through a browser, right? So so that early years programming even can be done through Chrome Flex, okay? And you can download those programs onto microbits and those robots begin with an A. I can't remember the name now. Arduinos, thank you. Yeah, So, and that's another little bit of work, because if we can do some of this kind of industry collaboration, then maybe local IT sector can say, well, actually, we can put a bit of money into providing some Arduino kit or into some microbits, right? And then the local schools can be looking at those, right? Yeah. So it kind of starts to kind of create that, I don't know, digital responsible ecosystem, really, where those in the sector are saying, well, we have a responsibility to make sure people don't get left behind. And yeah, we can't do it all, but we can do a bit. And providing we make it easy for the sector to take part, I think it will happen.
And we've also got some crazy ideas. I know we're probably out of time, but because I'm in the phone world, I'm working with people outside the UK that are taking mobile phone motherboards and turning them into PCs, which can be used in developing countries. Why couldn't we do a similar thing here in our local community? When the students say, we've got these computers sorted, give us a bigger challenge, we'll give them the challenge of rooting a mobile device, turning it into a computer, and figuring out how we attach it to a monitor, and then we've got another.
Isn't that a cultural issue, perception, a cultural issue that everybody wants to be top dog. So no one wants to basically be doing hands-on stuff. They want to basically be working with papers and determine how things needs to happen. Because I don't see many people actually interested in doing hands-on, fixing computers. No one's going to like get laptop and have it open. And
I think more than you think. So we've got 150 staff who fix 250,000 devices. And those people that work for us, some of them we've educated by developing our own digital device repair technician apprenticeship, which we launched last year.
What I meant was
still an opportunity.
The general public, like with the kids growing, needing access to laptop or machine, because if that's kind of mentality, they probably say, well, I can make one myself, or go and get the components, or what can I find? And then start to have a different mentality to think, well, I can take stuff out of this phone, develop a laptop, and so on. But we don't have that kind of mentality any longer.
Maybe not enough, but there's enough of it there that we got to figure out how we can continue to nurture that.
Yeah. I think the other point, though, is that, of course, that is quite different to what Reboot's trying to achieve anyway.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's a spin-off by maybe saying, well, actually, if you're providing younger learners hands-on experience of repurposing, then on it goes. I mean, years ago, I was building my own computers and so on, and people still do that. I don't know how big it is these days. I haven't built my own computer for years, but it's still big, right? Yeah. Still big. People, water cooled and lights and all that kind of stuff for gaming, and so that's all still there. It's just kind of, I don't do it anymore, so I'm not close enough to it. So I think all we can do at this stage is celebrate where we are and understand that we still have some way to go. Yeah. And say to ourselves, look, actually, by, as Freddie mentioned, joining the dots, joining together, collaborating with like-minded and like-interested organisations, and pick the best that we've got and leave the stuff that doesn't work behind, and that's kind of where we are. And I think, there'll be different ways to do it in different places. That's the other key thing about hyperlocal. Hyperlocal doesn't mean exactly the same everywhere, but it kind of means the equivalent everywhere, right? Yeah, so different people might do it slightly different ways, and we have to understand what that
like Adam said earlier, that, if you want to get access to the people, like during COVID,
like Sharon,
when they had all those people need to be fed, who knows who somewhere. Yeah. So
once you start looking and ask around, the people that need the help will be found for sure.
Yeah. Okay. A small group, and I think good conversation there. Hopefully everybody appreciated that.